A few days ago, I already decided that on June 30th, I will leave the club. It's a decision I have taken with the president, with the staff. Barca needs a change of dynamic. Thinking as a club man, I think the best thing is for me to go on June 30th. Xavi is leaving Barcelona. This is his last season as the head coach of Blaugrana. In a dramatic defeat, we all have heard the same words. Today, the Inside Football channel will tell you the real reasons behind Xavi's departure, so sit back and relax, as we are about to start. Guys, before we begin, we'd be grateful if you could give this video a like, especially if you are sad to see Xavi leave Barcelona. I was the solution to Barcelona's problems 2 years ago, but now I don't want to be a problem. This is another important quote from Xavi because the trajectory of the talented Spanish coach's rise was impressive. After several years of coaching at Qatari side Al Sadd, Xavi was not afraid to take a chance and take over Barcelona, who had been suffering a complete collapse under Koeman. By the time the 41-year-old coach joined the team, Blaugrana were occupying the 9th place in the La Liga table. Regardless of all problems, it's something one simply cannot imagine now. The Dutch coach had a very difficult time parting with Messi and was not ready to build a team without the Catalan club's #1 legend and quickly lost ground. Therefore, Xavi faced a very challenging task to completely change the negative dynamics within the club, which was descending into the abyss. Fortunately, not only did Xavi manage to save the sinking ship, but he also made Barcelona the strongest club in Spain. Again, Barca returned to the top once again. While Xavi finished the first season in La Liga's 2nd place and without a single trophy in the 2022-23 season, the Blaugrana were rightfully the strongest club in Spain. Super Cup plus La Liga, the golden double, which could easily have been converted into the treble if Barcelona hadn't lost in the second leg of the Copa del Rey to Real Madrid at the Camp Nou. These events occurred quite recently, while Barcelona have changed beyond recognition. So what could have gone wrong in such a relatively short period of time? What happened to go wrong? The 2023-24 season was supposed to be the icing on the cake in the sweet dreams of Barcelona president Joan Laporta. He was sleeping and dreaming of raising the Champions League trophy above his head and delivering a speech in which the main message would be, "We are back." However, something didn't go according to the plan. Our task now is to remember everything in order and figure out what the true reason for Xavi's departure was, who in the last year, September, as we recall, signed a new contract until the summer of 2025, with an option to extend it for 1 more season. We think it's worth starting off with the departure of one of the most trusted people in Joan Laporta's team. Sporting director Mateu Alemán left the club at the end of the season, followed by another important official in the sports department, Jordi Cruyff. The mentioned 2 top managers were replaced by Deco, who had previously run a football agency and had extensive connections in Brazilian football. Alemán, Cruyff, and Xavi. These trio made a lot of noise in the transfer market and knew how to find understanding. The most successful transfers were of the first season, when the team with a tight budget managed to sign Dani Alves, Adama Traoré, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, and Ferran Torres for the second part of the season. Further, there was the legendary transfer window with the sale of club assets in exchange of the signing of Lewandowski, Rafinha, and Koundé, and progress achieved with the first trophies of the Xavi era. However, the transfer summer of 2023 was different. Xavi's top priority was to recruit a defensive midfielder after the exit of Sergio Busquets. The coach considered this transfer to be essential for planning a successful season. His favorite was Zubimendi from Sociedad, though Barca's financial situation was so bad, the only footballer the board could afford was Oriol Romeu with those 3.4 million euros. Well, as it turns out, Romeu was among the reasons for Xavi's departure. Okay, we are just kidding. We are talking about the management in the person of Laporta, who was unable to provide the team with a high-profile player in one of its most important positions. Moreover, he failed to secure the return of Lionel Messi, which Xavi also counted on, having had several conversations with Leo at the end of last season. Back in the summer, Barça also announced the transfer of Vitor Roque, whose official value was 40 million euros. The new sporting director especially insisted on this transfer, which, according to some sources, became one of the first reasons for a potential rift between the coach and the club's management. Laporta supported Deco, whilst Xavi insisted on bolstering another position. The arrival of Inigo Martinez and Gundogan is more closely related to the Aleman and Cruyff moves. Those were moves agreed with Xavi. Two other important priorities were to strengthen the right back and winger positions. While Xavi was frankly delighted with the acquisition of Cancelo due to the performer's quality and versatility, the candidacy of Joao Felix was postponed until the last minute. Felix is known to be a client of Jorge Mendes, who has a great relationship with Laporta and Deco. Eventually, they managed to push Felix through to Xavi's squad as well. The latter would have liked to see there a more direct winger like S. Abde or even trust Ansu Fati with a role. That's actually why their transfers were postponed till the last days of the transfer window. Although Xavi praises Felix from time to time, the Portuguese's lack of diligence in work attitude eventually forced the coach to use Ferran and 16-year-old Lamine Yamal up front with Lewandowski in key matches of the season. Apparently, Joao Felix was and is a player of Mendes, Laporta and Deco. Here we again see a total disconnect between the coach and the board. Another story we want to talk about is related to the last Champions League group stage tie against Antwerp, when it was reported via the media that Laporta and Deco pressured Xavi regarding the lineup for that game. All parties denied the reports later on, but the new sporting director's behavior began to negatively affect the dressing room, and the media also reported that Deco didn't believe De Jong's words about his illness and allegedly even yelled at him and told him to pack his bags and fly to Antwerp. As one could see from these reports, the situation at the club was becoming increasingly toxic. Laporta and Deco were setting too high expectations for Xavi and his team, and the coach fell for it, putting pressure on the team in every way possible. We will fight for all the trophies this season. We have a team strong enough for that. We want to win the Spanish Super Cup, the Spanish Cup, La Liga and the Champions League. Laporta said back in December, sincerely believing in the potential of the gathered team. Xavi repeated these exact words. He said that now they will change the dynamics of the season and gain the necessary momentum. Yet the results seem to be getting worse. Within 14 days, Barcelona basically got knocked out of 3 out of 4 tournaments. First, there was the crushing defeat against Real Madrid in the Super Cup final, next was the exit from Athletic Bilbao in the Spanish Cup, and finally, a catastrophic loss against Villarreal at home. Barça conceded 13 goals in these matches. And this is a team that was setting defensive records back-to-back last season. You see, there are objective reasons for these failures. The absence of a top-class defensive midfielder, the injury of Xavi, who was the most aggressive player in the midfield, the injury of Ter Stegen, who was one of the cornerstones of Barca's defense, and a significant drop in form of almost all top performers who carried the team last season. Koundé, Araujo, Christensen and Balde, who became simply unrecognizable. The same goes for Frankie and Pedri, who mixed outstanding performances with mediocre ones, and especially the Robert Lewandowski-Rafinha pair. The post form is so poor, the coolers are dreaming to offload him somewhere. While the Brazilian was unable to replace Ousmane Dembélé, whose leaving also took its toll on Xavi even despite the first team appearances of Lamine Yamal, who is called the new Dembélé but with brains. Among the positive phenomena of the ongoing campaign, we can only highlight Yamal, Gundogan and Ferran, who have proven to be the most consistent players for Barça this season. Besides, we shouldn't overlook the first-team debuts of 17-year-olds Cubarsí and Fort, the future of Blaugrana's defense. Why did such a large number of players significantly degrade the quality of their performance? Perhaps the internal problems in the team, which are not allowed to be discussed publicly, are to blame. Maybe it's the pressure Xavi talked about so much during his press conferences? And maybe this pressure was coming from the top. It so happened that the entire planning for the season was a complete disaster. The team Laporta and Deco wrapped up as the future Champions League winners turned out to be just a dysfunctional mess, where everything doesn't work as it should. By the third season of Xavi being in charge of the first team, it turned out that Laporta, Deco, and Jorge Mendes were the ones behind the key choices for the squad. The feeling of being a Barcelona coach is cruel, unpleasant. You feel disrespected. It's a terrible drain on your mental health, your mood, to the point that you say you don't have it in you to continue. My closest friends know it. Xavi shared after the tie versus Villarreal. Xavi was not ready for the insane pressure from all fronts and thus will leave the club at the age of 44 after spending only 3 seasons at the helm of his favorite side. Guardiola, for example, lasted 4 seasons and left the club at the age of 41. You used to ask me if I wanted to be Barca's Alex Ferguson. The truth is that there will never be a Ferguson here. It's impossible. You won't allow it. That's the truth. Xavi told reporters who, like Pep in his time, is simply tired of all the hype that is constantly going on around Barcelona. Nevertheless, you have to give credit to Xavi. He came back to the club at one of its darkest times in history, brought it back to the top, but ultimately realized that he was not capable of giving it a new boost. Xavi will not be a problem for the club and will not demand payment of all the money under the new contract. He loves Barcelona so much that he will write off all obligations to it. Perhaps Xavi has become a victim of the rose-colored glasses world which Joan Laporta likes to promote and has put too much trust in the president. After all, neither Erling Haaland nor Kylian Mbappe, nor even the return of Lionel Messi ever happened. Those were all empty talks. Let's face it, someone would hardly find it possible to dominate world football without finances, but being full of illusions. Barca will be back, they will, but without Xavi, he did everything he could. Maybe he can still surprise everyone at the end of the season. We'll see about that. If you win the UCL, will you change your decision? A journalist asked. No, that will not happen. I will take a break after the season. Me and my family have suffered too much in these couple of years. I want to be with them. And that's where we would like to end this topic. Guys, please leave a like to this video if you found it interesting and subscribe to the Inside Football channel. Check out these suggested videos and stay tuned for more. Have a nice one, and see you in a bit.